Postpone further proceedings today on motions to suspend the rules on which a recorded vote or the yeas and nays are ordered, or on which the vote incurs objection under Clause 6 of Rule 20. Record votes on postponed questions will be taken later. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 670 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 570, H.R. 670. A bill to amend Title 19 of the Social Security Act to extend the Medicaid rules regarding supplemental needs trusts for Medicaid beneficiaries to trusts established by those beneficiaries and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Guthrie, and the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Pallone, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky.
I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous materials in the record on the bill.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Thompson.
Gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding and thank the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong support of H.R. 670, the Special Needs Trust Fairness and Medicaid Improvement Act, a bipartisan measure that will remove arbitrary legal barriers for individuals with disabilities to independently create their own special needs trust. Special needs trusts are valuable tools that enable assets to be saved on behalf of individuals with disabilities while protecting their eligibility for means-tested benefits. Under current law, individuals who are or become disabled must have a parent, a guardian, or a court-appointed special needs trust, regardless of their individual's capacity to do so on their own. Mr. Speaker, not only does this requirement place an undue burden on individuals who seek a better financial future and want to live with dignity, it runs counter to the precedent set by Congress with the creation of the pooled trust accounts in 1993 and the passage of the ABLE Act in 2014. Both provide disabled individuals and their families unencumbered access to mechanisms for savings. My drive to correct this legal inequity stems from my experience as a certified recreational therapist, a hospital manager, a rehabilitation services manager, and a licensed nursing home administrator. In these roles, I worked with many people who set out on challenging journeys towards rehabilitation and future independence. As a result, I found it difficult to ignore the fact that current law is working to further complicate anyone's path to become more self-reliant and independent. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this time to share the personal narrative of Raina McMurray Arnold, co-founder and director of the Sight Loss Support Group of Central Pennsylvania and a constituent of mine. As an individual who's living with blindness, Raina helped form a remarkable nonprofit to assist others with sight loss by providing peer counseling, vision rehabilitation, referral services, and direct accessibility support for local events. Despite challenges she has been faced with, Raina has led a very fulfilling, successful life, running a successful service organization for 30 years and raising a family. However, under the current law, Raina would be deemed unfit to establish her own special needs trust. It is on Raina's behalf and on behalf of the millions of Americans living with disabilities that I introduced H.R. 670, and I'm grateful for its consideration this afternoon on the House floor. I'd also like to thank another constituent of mine, Amos Goodall, who has worked as an elder law attorney in State College, Pennsylvania. Mr. Goodall originally brought this issue to my attention and has been a tireless advocate for this bill. I'd also like to thank Katie Brown and my staff, whose work on this bill has got us to this point today. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to join me in seizing this opportunity to correct a legal inequity and safeguard the rights of Americans living with disabilities to secure their own financial future stability. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I strongly support this bipartisan legislation, H.R. 670, the Special Needs Trust Fairness Act. This legislation, which I've championed from multiple Congresses with my Republican colleague, Representative Glenn Thompson, would allow individuals with disabilities to set up special needs trusts for themselves without a court petition. And I thank Representative Thompson for his continued leadership on this issue. A special needs trust is a special kind of trust that is designed to provide support for certain expenses for disabled individuals to supplement Medicaid benefits. Currently, these types of trusts generally must be established by parents, grandparents, legal guardians, or a court on behalf of the disabled individual. People can only set up a special needs trust for themselves after petitioning a court, and oftentimes this process can take several months and can incur significant legal fees during the process. And this is just not right. Individuals with disabilities can and should have the ability to set up a special needs trust for themselves, and this legislation fixes that basic inequity. This is a common sense but very meaningful fix in the lives of those living with a disability. I'd like to also note that H.R. 670 was amended in the Energy and Commerce Committee by adding an additional provision to require states to extend tobacco cessation coverage to pregnant women through the first year postpartum. And this is also good policy. Tobacco cessation is absolutely critical to both saving dollars and saving lives, and particularly so for pregnant and postpartum women. When we invest in helping people to quit smoking, the benefit is not only clear to the health of our communities, but also to our economy. My own home state of New Jersey is currently piloting a project in our Medicaid program specifically aimed at cutting costs and improving birth outcomes through targeted evidence-based efforts that help pregnant women to quit smoking. In addition, these policies are fully offset by clarifying that the federal match for hair growth and cosmetic products is available when those products are medically necessary, which is the current policy of most states already. The remaining savings are put in a Medicaid improvement fund as a down payment on more positive improvements to the Medicaid program in the future. So I'm very proud, Mr. Speaker, that we're able to work together on these policies. This is an example of the type of work that we should do more often in the Medicaid program, working together to pass policies that remove barriers for beneficiaries, strengthen benefits, and support the long-term health of the program overall. And I urge my colleagues to support H.R. 670, and I hope that the Senate will consider this new version so that it can swiftly become law. And again, thank you. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Kentucky.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further speakers and prepared to close and inquire of the gentleman.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
I have no additional speakers as well. I would simply yield back the balance of my time and urge support for the bill.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to congratulate or commend my friend from Pennsylvania who spent so much effort on this. We had testimony in the Energy and Commerce Committee, families coming before who are in situations that are difficult and gives them the opportunity to provide for their loved one. And that's the original intent of the bill. This one allows the individual, him or herself, to set up and provide. And I think that's the right thing to do. And I encourage my colleagues to vote for this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 670? Those in favor say aye. 670 as amended. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative. Gentleman from Kansas. Yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. Sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Further proceedings, pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.